Hello, everybody. I thank you for joining us tonight. I've got a special guest with me, and we're going to be talking about pornography. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
So, with pornography, how do you feel about pornography?
I think pornography is a scourge. I think that's adversely affected our society as a whole. This is not me. I'm not going to stand and judge of people and say, oh, you watch pornography and you should go to jail or be given a fine or something. That's not what I'm saying. But you talk about things like sexual assault, the objectification of women, and in terms of like, or even just harassment and catcalling and things like that. And it's pretty clear that for some reason we've got we have a problem. And it's terrible because most people are not acknowledging this. They're like, oh, boys will be boys and things like that, because I think somehow or other, people are forgetting, like, let's just face it, dude. I mean, we all had that, experience, mom and dad are asleep. You go downstairs, put on Skinamax about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and do what boys do. Okay, let's just face it, we all do it. And and that's kind of like the rite of passage. But, it used to be, you had to get pornography, you had to go and purchase it. You had to go to like a adult bookstore or whatever, go to that section of the video store to rent those movies. And they always made sure that you were at the right age and stuff like that. Well, nowadays, it's all over the place. It's, it's
It's
readily
at your
available.
fingertips now.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have people doing it as amateurs, and it's just the availability with the lack of control of the distribution. It's just having a chilling effect, in my opinion.
You don't even have to pay for it anymore.
No, you don't have to pay for it. And I mean, and they're beginning to do more and more research about how it affects relationships. Now they have something called pornographic addiction, which the argument being, well, it's not the same as like an addiction to cocaine or something like that. But it hits all the right notes. It causes your brain to fill with all the same hormones and endorphins and everything else. And it's like a substitute for for real love.
Yeah.
And that's that disconnect is terrible.
Because it creates a huge void.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what do you think?
I agree with you 100%, and that's the thing. You mentioned earlier, pornography. A lot of women don't understand why it is that men say these comments that they make to women, these inappropriate comments, and why it is that men stare at women, a certain way and all this, and they don't talk properly to women. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with a lot of these men have porn addictions, and the thing is that pornography is very, pornography basically, it targets women. It causes men to see women as sexual objects and not as women, not as human beings with feelings. Pornography, in my opinion, degrades women. Like I said, it objectifies women. Women are sexualized because of pornography. Men sexualize women, and the stronger the porn addiction, the more the men sexualize women, until the point to where that they can't see women as human beings with feelings anymore. Am I correct?
No, I agree. I mean, they just look at them. It's kind of like my daughter's in ballet, and I am very grateful that my daughter, she's young, she's very young, but she's very fortunate that the girls that are like 17 and 18 are such great examples for it. I mean, they work very hard, they're very talented. It's very obvious they put a great deal of time into it, and the problem being, the outfits are revealing, they're not necessarily flattering. So you have there's some women that look better with them than others. It doesn't make them any less talented, But most of the time you start evaluating their predicated on their appearance. And I was thinking, what an injustice that is. Because, women they come in all different sizes and shapes and, and colors and, just as much variety you can think of. And, if you're a good Christian man, you realize this is, God's creation. God is a perfect God. I don't believe in a God that makes mistakes.
Yeah.
But, you just, if you believe that, you don't evaluate women that way. You're grateful for their craft, and you enjoy seeing people do what they're talented at, whether it is dance or it's making music or it's art or any of those other things. And but to use women basically for their bodies, I think is a great disservice to them, because there's a lot more depth there. There's a lot more that you can experience if you get past that. So I think it's a travesty. But I think also there's this, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think it starts like in high school, And in high school, I committed to remain celibate until I was married. And, I would tell this to people, and the reaction was basically that there was something wrong with me. Like I had some kind of dysfunction. I was asked, well, are you gay? It's like, if you're gay, you're gay. You're gay. You like dudes, So you got to get together with dudes, but, you can't just like, all this other stuff. And it's like, it's kind of like, wait a minute, why am I being vilified for being celibate, but, you're being championed for being a prolific man whore? I don't really understand this.
Exactly. It's like I tell guys all the time, I don't watch pornography. I don't do it. I tell people I haven't had sex in a long time, in 6 years now. And it's like I tell guys this, and I get the same response. Are you gay? Why aren't you out chasing women? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Because sex is not that important to me, and the reason why these men are doing this is because they're sexualizing women. They think that I'm supposed to see women as sex objects, as women as nothing more than just a channel of release of my sexual frustration. And that's basically what these men are saying.
Oh yeah, and I think in some ways men in general try to solve problems. And the problem of woman, the great mystery. Let's just be honest. The great mystery. And, we try to boil it down to a few things just to make our life easier, or perhaps even to, we don't get that involved in things because we don't want to have our feelings hurt. If it's simply an encounter, if it's just scratching it, maybe it hurts less, I don't know. But, I think that's part of losing the human connection. It's like, and it goes for women too. Women, I've met women that oversimplify it. And so, but you should really strive for, honestly, you should strive for connection. Those are things you just should strive for, not just connection with everybody. To talk to people like they're real people, to value them, and to see there's God-given qualities that our Maker endowed them with.
Yes.
And that goes for everybody. How many times do you, if you're at work? I'm a software engineer. I work with brilliant software engineers, and sometimes I think I'm not really on the ball and stuff like that. But, I never see them as rivals. I never want to sabotage them or anything like that. I appreciate their contributions. I know they work very hard for it, and I'm really glad that I worked with them. And there's a lot of people that wouldn't see it that way. They'd be like, oh, I'm going to sabotage this person so I can get ahead. And, wow, that's just terrible, man.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. And a lot of that goes back to what we were saying earlier, is people objectify people, and it's just like, if with porn, that's the reason why that women's clothing is becoming more provocative nowadays.
yeah, dude.
It's porn. The porn is behind this whole thing.
It's just, this is how I want the women depicted. And I mean, it's not something, that isn't a recent phenomenon. You know?
It's been happening for decades now.
Yeah, it's been coming around. Like, you start looking at men's shorts, and you look at women's shorts. And I mean, women's shorts, I mean, you can basically see the bottom of their asses. And,
yeah,
you know, men's shorts, you know, sometimes you don't see their knees. I mean, you know, I mean.
It's like the men's shorts get longer. The men's shorts get longer while the women's shorts get shorter.
Oh, exactly. You know, and it's really hard to teach a woman modesty in this day and age. I mean, I found it interesting. There was
if you try to teach a woman modesty nowadays, they get real pissed off.
Oh, I mean, there's something. It's not a matter of keeping them modest. It's a matter of requiring them to be modest.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like me telling them, "Oh, you shouldn't show your body." It's like, well, that's not really my business.
Yeah.
You know, I would not tell a woman cover up or something like that. Now, my daughter, yes, I want her to be modest because I want a man to appreciate her for something more than her body.
Yeah, you don't want her sexualized.
No, I don't.
Or objectified.
Exactly. So, you know, I do my best for her to understand modesty, and that's, you know, I mean, that's, but like I said, she's my daughter. You know, it's not my place to go and say, oh, well, you know, I mean, maybe my son, I might, you know, if there's a woman that he's interested in, I might, if you ask me my opinion, I might point out I don't find her to be modest, you know, and that's something that I don't appreciate, you know, and I think that that's clouding your judgment if you think that she's a lady worthy of your attention. You know, I would probably state it that way too, but again, that's my son. You know, I wouldn't talk like that to anybody else.
Yes.
And I think that's where you start, you know, you're talking about school codes and, you know, I mean, there's some women that, look, they're just endowed. I mean, what can they do about it? You know, what would you like them to do about it? They're just, that's just part of, you know, what they are.
Yeah, if a woman is endowed with a C plus or you know, or greater, it seems like those women are the ones that are really targeted, you know. And they're subliminally targeted, which a lot of these women don't even realize. The media, the TV shows, the internet, the clothing industry, they go after these women with the C plus grades or higher, you know. And it just amazes me at how these women are programmed to think, hey, if you got it, flaunt it. All for the world to see. It's everyone's business. And it's like these women are programmed to sexualize themselves, objectify themselves. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot like, you know, like I think I was telling you earlier, you know, I have a daughter, and I'm really concerned if she's young. I don't have to worry. Fortunately, I'm never close to worrying about this. But at some point in time, you know, that's her instinct is eventually she's going to want to parent, she's going to want to make a family. And, you know, whenever the cost of that, how do I put this, proposal, is living with a man and having sex with him, you know, where I think that's not really the way to go about doing it. But whenever, you know, every man in the world is like that, is she going to be able to withstand that standard in the onslaught of those kinds of demands? In other words, you have to give me what I want before I give you what you want.
Yeah, because nowadays a lot of men have been, you know, they don't have the wholesome examples with women. You know, men are taught that, okay, you've got to have sex with me. I've taken you out on a date. I've done this for you. I've done that. Now you got to give it to me.
Yep, exactly.
And fortunately, men are not taught that women have the last say-so when it comes to sex.
Well, it goes both ways, man. You know, like I said, I wasn't, you know, I don't cohabitate, I don't put out, you know, and that probably cost me quite a few relationships because the woman didn't believe my interest because I didn't do those things. That's how she was gauging progress. And, you know, I had that happen where, you know, 6-7 months in, a girl's like, yeah, you know, I think you like me, I know I like you, and my lease is almost up, and we should we should get, we should move in together.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, that's not really my standard, and I don't think we see each other anymore. But I mean, that's kind of interesting how that's kind of how it proceeds, where sometimes it's seen as an economic relationship. And I think if you get the economics involved, well then, sometimes I wonder if, like I said, I didn't have to ask a woman. Perhaps, men see it as a way of satisfying their drive, their prowess. Women see it as a way of satisfying their economic need. I don't know, and probably, if you put up, somebody's going to say a lot of bad things about me even mentioning that. But, this is just me saying, I'm not sure. I don't know if women do that as well.
Some do. I've known a few couples. I know a few couples that are living together right now, and they're doing it out of convenience.
No doubt.
They don't necessarily get along with each other, but they get along well enough to be roommates with benefits.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I had a friend of mine when I went to college that he lived with his girlfriend, and he was talking about marrying her. And his father said, oh, well, look, if you want to make adult decisions before you leave college, you can pay for your own education. I'm not going to help you anymore.
Wow.
And, I think that was a good thing because it didn't work out. And had he married her, it wouldn't have worked out with a much more serious loss.
Oh, yeah.
And, and that's, but at the same time, though, I had, a cousin of mine, he had him and his girlfriend moved in together when he was in college because of economic convenience, because now all the bills are split in half and everything else, and it made economic sense. So did either their parents step up and say, okay, I'm pulling my support, or did either of them say, I'll give you more support if you don't move in together? So, the message they get whenever you don't do things like that is, oh, well, then it's not that important, And that's what you need to make sure that they understand. No, it is that important. It's important enough that I will tell you that I'll hold my support if you do that. That's kind of how I feel.
Risk management.
Yeah, I think you have to set that standard, and you have to defend that standard. But, getting back to the original talk of pornography, I think in a lot of ways the problems that it causes, I think, are not taken very seriously, because, you start looking at the memes about it, there's one that I saw, every time you masturbate, God kills a kitten, which I thought was hysterical. And then, there's another, there's a few of them. Go look them up. And, I think in some ways the way that they've tried to subvert pornography, honestly, is hysterical. It can't be taken seriously. But I think if you start looking at the science behind it, it can be a problem. It can develop into a very bad habit. And I think most people aren't aware of it because it's kind of, like I said, growing out of our tradition about what it is to become a young man and to start, managing that prowess. And typically you start with, pornography and masturbation. So it's not, I think people aren't educated about it. And people most of the time don't want to hear about it. It's a lot like, you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you you've got high cholesterol and you're overweight. I don't want to hear that shit. I want to eat whatever I want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to exercise. That takes time. That takes effort,
Yeah, rules take effort. Rules make us go out of our comfort zones.
Yeah, exactly.
Or advice,
So I think it's important for fathers to sit down with their sons and tell them, look, this is an option that you have, and I'm not going to micromanage your life and tell you not to do it. Instead, I'm going to tell you that, there are consequences to participating in this behavior. I don't think it's a good use of time, and I think that it sets you on the road to having poor habits.
Yep, and it teaches you how to, in so many ways, how to ruin your relationships.
exactly, dude. I mean, most women, like, they have, spouses they love, and they're willing to deal with those things because as long as it doesn't interfere with their relationship. But it still makes them feel bad. It still makes them feel rejected. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, you talk about a woman that's, been married to a man for 20 years. She's like in her 40s and 50s, and she catches him downstairs, on some site looking at some, younger woman with a harder body, and that's, that's a horrible experience.
Very ultimate. That's like, I mean, that's major betrayal. That's like a complete slap in the face. That's
exactly. It's we don't often think about that, but it's true. And what's even worse is we're passed on to society. It's like, oh, everybody does it. Everybody does this, that, and the other, and it's like, well, I'm not going to go and make a comment on, should you masturbate or not. Okay. I think it's pretty well, there's been studies about it. I don't know that that's the bad thing that they're making out to be, but I think the problem is if you look at pornography and you look at it enough and you strive to either have a woman of that quality or a woman do those things to you, or you do those things to a woman, that's not really that's not a reality that people experience. And then you start striving to have it, you say, oh, wow, I would like to have a, female, male, threesome. And, and that's what you seek. And you can't seek those things and be in a healthy relationship.
Nope.
So,
and a lot of people nowadays try to incorporate those things into their relationship.
Oh yeah, and it's not very healthy.
It's not gonna work.
What if you're like, it's like, oh, I want to try out this new thing, and the other partner's like, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, well then you don't really love me because that's what I see and that's what I want, and you don't want to provide that for me. It's like, well, no, they don't want to do that.
And by trying, go ahead.
You have a partner that likes skydiving, and it's like, no, I'm not going to jump out of a perfectly good plane. Well, you don't love me because you don't want to share this experience with me. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. You just don't want to jump out of a perfectly good plane. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and by telling them that they don't want to jump out of, or they don't want to do this thing, whatever thing it is that they're asking to do, now you're objectifying that person. Now they're an object. They're not a person with feelings anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, there just has to be some awareness about it. There's a organization called Fight the New Drug, and that's how they treat it. Pornography is a drug.
Oh yeah, it's more addictive than cocaine.
It is. It's all around you. It's seductive. It's titillating, and it's filth, and it's going. You can't lay down. You can't lay down with dogs and not get fleas, man.
Exactly.
That's probably a bad thing to say about dogs, but I think you get the idea.
Yep. And see that's the thing, another thing that goes on, like with some men, they have nudies of their girlfriends or whatever, and what do? They show the nudies to all their homies, and it's like, so now she's an object, she's a trophy now. She's not a human being anymore. And the thing about it is that if I ever had nudies, of a woman, I would assume that woman automatically does not want me to share them with anyone else, and I'm not going to do that, huh?
You think, right? And then you break up with her, and you're angry, and you want to get back with her and back at her, and because she's hurt you that bad. And what do? Revenge porn, and you hurt them, you violate them in a very profound way, and it's that isn't right either, And everybody should say, well, the woman shouldn't give me the pictures. Well, the woman gave the pictures within the context of a consensual relationship, with the expectation that either the consensual relationship would continue, or that you would respect that privacy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. People don't freaking think, man. People don't respect boundaries. It's a lot like, I mean, I have a sister who, doesn't like my wife, and she says bad things about my wife, and I say, look, why do you think that's appropriate? Well, that's what I think. It's like, you can keep that to your damn self,
That's crossing boundaries there.
I can't believe you would tell me something like that about my wife.
Yeah.
Thinking that you should express that or let me know about it.
I'm your brother, like.
And that's my wife. I mean, it's different whenever you say, what, Scott, I think your wife is spending too much of your money, That's different, okay? That's, whenever you're saying, what, Scott, I think your wife is not treating you right. I think that your wife is addressing you, in front of other people in a way that's disrespectful, and it's clear to me that it hurts you. Okay, that's different. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, because it's in a concerned way, and you're not directly attacking that person,
Yeah, I think your wife is an uppity cunt. Okay, no, that's not a concern you expressed to me, because it's not a concern. That's
an opinion, man.
That's an opinion. That's not even an observation.
Which is even worse than an observation. Yeah.
Precisely. So, but that's kind of, like I say, the world's going that direction where everybody has it. I mean, like I remember one time there was my niece on Facebook. She puts up a picture of a woman, and it has it's basically like a solid color silhouette, and this woman has a pregnancy belly, but it's a different color, and it seems they did something like a dotted outline to make it optional. And it said you don't have to have children to be a woman. Now, the way I read it, which I thought was the accurate measure, was that not having children doesn't make you any less a woman, whether you choose to or whether you can't, which I think is an important message, because me and my wife, for the first 7 years of our marriage, we didn't have children, and she thought there's something wrong with her, and really there's nothing wrong with her. It just wasn't the right time. And, later on, we had 2 kids. But, other people, they got on there to start expressing their opinion about how, you espouse abortion, you're promoting abortion. It's like, I didn't read that. And I don't think that's, number one, I don't think that's a reasonable, thing to press upon my niece, because I thought the message that was conveyed was very important,
Yeah. I agree.
So,
yeah.
It's, but, that's the way people are, man. People just, they're nosy. They decide that, well, my opinion's so important, I should express it. My opinion's no less important than yours, so I express it. It's like, whatever happened to decorum and things like that? I mean, that goes the way of, people being selfish. Isn't it selfish to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to get to know a person, to gain their respect, to gain their love. Instead, I'll just put on a video and get some lubricant and just, rub one out and make myself feel better and show I don't need to do those things. I don't need these people in that way,
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why a lot of relationships are not working, because that's the mentality that people have nowadays. They're not trying to value that person's emotions.
Yep, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I mean, women there's a lot to value in a woman, and it's not, and I don't know that it's, is it not, am I not a man? Do I cease to have balls if I, I don't notice those subtle things like the pursed lips and the bright eyes and, the small of the woman's back and all of those lovely features and, everything else, does that make, I think that's the other side of it, is they're like, oh, I shouldn't really think it like, no, there's nothing wrong with thinking like that. Dude, you have a dick, okay? That's how you perpetuate the species, is to have that kind of attraction. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with catcalling. There's something wrong about forgetting that the woman also has a head and and feelings and her own goals and her own motivations. That's where you get into trouble, and I think that's where pornography kind of takes those feelings and that kind of perspective, and really does a lot of damage to it.
Yeah, it takes attraction, human emotion, the desire for companionship, and even procreation, and twist it into selfish instant gratification.
Yep, I think so. So I think it's good to promote the idea that I don't know, man. Like when you're in a relationship, it's just like me being a father. I want to be a good father. So you know what? Part of being a good father is for seeing that I make enough money. Is that I go and I gain the skills I need and the qualifications I need to make a good living. That that I do provide for my family, that I get to bed at a reasonable time, that I wake up early, that I make breakfast for my kids, that I get them to school on time, that I'm responsible at work and everything else,
Yeah,
Those things are really important.
that's very proactive.
Yeah, exactly.
Fatherhood, and
And I think if you want to have a successful relationship where you want to be married and have a family, you have to accept, I can't, be a consumer of, pornography to do that. I mean, and I've seen it, they try to diminish it in a lot of different ways. Like they kind of try to diminish both violent pornography versus normal plain Jane pornography. And I'm not saying that there's not degrees to do that, but I mean, I think somehow or other you're also aiding and abetting, a bad habit. So it's like, oh, well, it's not that kind of pornography. Yeah, but dude, it's like whenever you lose 2 hours sleep trying to find the perfect scene to jerk off to, okay, that's just dumb. I don't understand it. I mean, and even better, like if you have a problem, like a legitimate problem, I mean, dude, go and seek some help.
Yeah.
I mean, go call a professional and, go see your religious leader. I mean, of course, if your religious leader kind of treats you poorly and tells you you're going to go to hell and doesn't try to treat it as a problem, well, maybe that wasn't the best choice, but, you go to professional, because you go, it's not the matter of, I guess that there maybe there's a healthy medium. I don't know enough about it, but if it's something that it's impacting your life in a way that you don't have a healthy lifestyle, or you just don't have you don't feel like you're living life to the fullest, dude, go see somebody,